It's Hyper Halloween.
Like the great George Costanza once said, "We're living in a society!" And while that's true in general, it's especially true in today's review. Today's film is 1989's horror film, Society. This is another film that falls into the melt movie category, but more on that later. Maybe. Society shines a light on social structures and the parasitic nature that the upper-class elites share with the lower classes. It's a movie that doesn't pull any punches, so let's get into the plot. The movie starts off with our main protagonist, Bill, played by Billy Warlock, which is one hell of a name. He's walking around his house during the night, and he hears really strange noises coming from his parents' room. The noises are so strange that it really freaks him out. The movie then changes to Billy describing his fears with his psychiatrist. He's afraid of his parents, his sister, and even his psychiatrist. He doesn't trust anyone. And this is especially true of his parents due to their high society activities. And he's afraid that something will happen the more he digs into it. The psychiatrist, of course, reassures Billy that everything is okay and sends him on his way. Anyway, speaking of Billy's family, they do not approve of Billy and his life choices. Billy doesn't really feel like he's a part of high society and lives his life like he's a part of the lower class. Billy also believes that he's adopted since his parents put all of their focus on his sister, and he doesn't really share any of the same viewpoints as them. Everyone reassures Billy, though, that he'll be a contribution to society one way or the other. One of Billy's friends, Blanchard, is suspicious of Billy's family as well. Blanchard bugs Billy's family and records a conversation between Billy's parents and sister Jenny. They discuss Jenny's upcoming coming out party, as well as other bizarre things. Random aside, the coming out party is also tied to a shunting event that happens with the upper class members of society. In any case, Billy and Blanchard hear some really strange and disturbing noises. The noises start off as a couple enjoying sexy time, but then quickly sound like someone is in pain. Blanchard gives this recording to Billy, and Billy immediately goes to a psychiatrist with the recording to prove that he isn't crazy. This is unfortunately where things get bad for Billy. His parents find the microphone that Blanchard planted in their house and immediately have Blanchard killed. After that, Billy finds that his psychiatrist erased the tape and had Billy's family record a normal conversation on the tape instead. Billy then becomes antagonistic with everyone in his life, except for one of the popular high society girls, Clarissa. Clarissa has taken a liking to Billy. She either doesn't realize he isn't upper class, or just doesn't care. Regardless, Billy gets into fights with upper class people, including his parents, throughout the rest of the film. Billy's parents, his psychologist, and local judge plan to send Billy to the hospital because of his behavior. They inject him with something, and Billy is pronounced legally dead when he gets to the hospital. Of course, Billy isn't actually dead. He wakes up and returns home with murderous intent. He breaks into his parents' house with the intent to kill when the lights go on, and it's full of many upper-class members of society. The ending involves the shunting event that is mentioned throughout the film. I'm not going to spoil this ending, though. The ending to this film honestly makes the movie for me. It's honestly a similar type situation that I explained in Rock and Roll Nightmare. Most of the movie has this mysterious build-up and BAM! Twist ending, or an ending that comes out of literally nowhere. I didn't mention it throughout my plot synopsis, but there are a lot of scenes that make it look like Billy is actually going crazy. We see a lot of weird things from Billy's viewpoint. For example, Billy sees a lot of bizarre things that aren't humanly possible, such as things moving in his sister's back, his sister bending in positions that honestly shouldn't be possible, and Clarissa twisting in ways that, again, shouldn't be possible when he's trying to score with her. At first, we're not sure if this is all happening in Billy's head, as he does come off as a little crazy. But we do later find out that this is common for upper-class members of society. In fact, the therapy scenes were apparently not a part of the original script at all, and they were added to strengthen the overall narrative. I honestly think that was a great idea, as it all leads up to the ending of the movie where all of this is put on display. Again, I won't explain the shunting, but I will say it's probably the craziest thing I think I've seen in film. Or at least one of the most bizarre things that I've seen. And also hilarious too. This is where the melt movie aspects come into play as well. It honestly makes the movie and ultimately drives home the main theme. That is, the elites or high society feeding off the work of the lower classes. Speaking of, despite coming out in 1989, Society is just as relevant today, if not more, since it seems even harder to get ahead or even stay afloat nowadays. The upper class is still a closed group that protects their own and deflects and distracts so nobody notices when something truly awful happens. The upper class continues to build on the hard work of the lower and middle classes to stay ahead, sometimes not even caring about the other classes at all. Anyway, sorry to get topical with the movie, but it is a pretty topical subject matter. But back to the movie itself. Society is another cult film through and through. It didn't perform well in the United States when it was first released, but it found its following later on. Apparently, it was a big hit in the UK though. And also, a sequel has apparently been in development since 2013. I haven't seen any news related to it though, so I'm guessing we're not going to get one. It's a shame though because, as I said, this subject is still very relevant today. All that being said, if you're looking for a lighthearted horror comedy movie this October, give Society a watch. If anything, the ending will really stick with you.